think it was a good thing that I stopped trading today. INM was just very dangerous.
It looks to me like there's nothing worth touching, except I am still watching LIAN.
Yeah,
Lian.
Yeah.
that was a popular one.
It's a bit higher float, but CVM yesterday was the same. It was like 40 million. This is 43 million, and I did really well on CVM. You just have to be a little bit careful with trading them because, like, kind of obviously looking at the Lian chart, those pullbacks can be pretty steep.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just get a lot of volume to both directions since there's more shares available to trade. But it's holding ascending support and kind of keeps making these attempts upward. So kind of as long as it keeps holding 320-ish, I'm interested in it.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
It could have a double top at 4 and try to make a new high. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also on a solid day, 2 days in a row now. So I'm not in a rush to keep trading it.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I had yesterday like a decent. I was up like almost 700, and then I gave back 30% off the top on accident too. I had a leftover limit order, and then there was a flush, and I
Oh,
was like, "Oh no, I forgot to remove
that's
this."
terrible. And all of a sudden you
Yeah,
hear that thinkorswim order fill sound, and you're
that
like, what?
that was exactly
Fill?
this. I was even looking at a different ticker. I was like totally somewhere else, and then I was like, "What the? Oh no!"
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you're like,
fucked.
what
And
just
then I
happened?
just closed my TOS. I didn't want to get on tilt and then like all of a sudden be red
That's
on the day.
that's
I
smart.
said, I said screw it, I'll take my $400. And then
Yeah.
today it's kind of similar, except it wasn't an accident. This time I just gave off like 200 from the top. I was up 600. Now I'm back down to 400. And then I closed my
That's not
TOS.
bad.
So not like big days,
Yeah.
but uh,
It
yeah,
doesn't matter though. Just
it
keep
doesn't
locking
really
them
matter.
up.
I feel this. I feel the same way.
That's how I was. I'm finally starting to get some good days and consistency back. I'm just being so careful, and I don't even want to say it yet, jinx anything, but um that's basically where I was at like 2 weeks ago. I was starting to finally get a couple small green days in a row together, and it just goes from there. You can just pick up steam real quickly if you can keep that going. One thing that I think last week especially and this week that has really been helping me out is you guys know I'd had a lot of inconsistency through September and then like first week of October. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And I think that I was probably just buying for the breakout way too much. And I've cut that back, and I've just been more patient and just waiting for that dip.
Mm.
And I think that has really helped turn things around the last 2.5 weeks so far, but it's been choppy. We
Yeah,
haven't really had any great opportunities coming up in the last 2 weeks. I've been doing well, but I don't really think the market has changed much.
Nope, I don't think it has really either. I was getting red doing exactly the same thing because sometimes you'll see these beautiful breakouts that go 50, 20, 30%, but somehow timing those and actually being on the right one instead of the 20 fake outs that come before
Right.
is very difficult. So
Yeah.
I do better when I kind of accumulate before the breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing today and yesterday.
That's a good point, and actually something one of the other points that I realized and I think I've been doing better at is these stocks make so many fake outs and like attempted attempts, and I think I've done a good job in the last week or so of backing off if I've just taken like 2 or 3 stabs and lost like a cent or two on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a step back, take a minute, and kind of think about or reevaluate what's going on.
Yeah, totally agree there. What do you guys think, Tom, Colby? How would you guys have been noticing in the markets?
Tom?
Yeah, I guess what I've been noticing, there's definitely opportunity. There's definitely yesterday you had a near 500% runner. Definitely opportunity. Today, I and M, that one was like another 200% runner. That one definitely had opportunity enough to get a decent green day. But yeah, like you said, timing there was just difficult. Managing a risk is difficult. I've had so many trades where it's just take my entry and then like it just the price just teleports and I'm somehow down 10 cents immediately and I have to take a loss because for me to hold and it goes down another 10 cents. And it's just like then I wipe out on the day. So that's happened a couple of times the past couple of weeks. As
Yeah.
far as my trading in general, I feel like my growth has gotten to like a ceiling and I need to make changes if I'm ever going to break out of that. And I think the problem is for me is that when I'm trading, like not every trade um, I have a strategy. Like I'm just buying kind of just blindly, or I'm selling because of just taking profits rather than taking profits at a resistance level or a nice breakout that just happened, scaling out into an extension. A lot of times I'm just selling just for the sake of just taking small gains without any reason to sell. And I think that's one of my biggest problems. I've known that since I've begun that was a problem. But now I'm just really starting to realize that is the specific, the entries to taking an entry for a specific reason and selling for a specific reason is what has been holding me back from reaching a next level. So really the past 2 days, I've just kind of reset mentally and just kind of just thinking like back to day one. Like it feels like I'm back to day one and I have to kind of relearn some things to kind of iron out these bad habits of, buying when I'm not supposed to be buying or for no reason or selling for no reason when I'm not supposed to be selling. And trying to iron those out. And hopefully with that, I know I've been doing DRCs, daily report cards, just because it'll keep me accountable so I can write down the reason for every single time I hit the buy button and the reason for every single time I hit the sell button. And that will keep me, aware of myself as I'm trading, asking myself why. And I think that'll help me iron that out. And yeah, that's what's been holding me back. I know I'm definitely been struggling. I'm at an all-time low mentally. And now I'm with that, every time I hit to a mental low or I feel like I'm at a low, I'm always doubling down on my studies or tripling down on my studies because that's what successful people do. But that's where I'm at.
That's
Been tough.
awesome.
Every time I get myself into a rut, I feel like eventually, however long it takes to reevaluate, I always get back to just going back to basics and like where I initially started finding success, which was in dips and just cutting out the trades that are making me red. I don't know if that's dips for you or whatever it is, but just going back to basics and just slowing things down a little bit has been always really helpful for me to turn things around. And then you just start stacking together like a couple really small green days in a row, and then maybe a couple more medium green days. And all of a sudden you're kind of out of that rut moving forward. But that's exactly where I was just like 2 weeks ago, was like rock bottom mentally, to the point where it was the first Friday of October and I took an oversized loss. I was trading at the gym. And it was a really solid red day. And And I remember I went into that weekend in a good mood because I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm so over it. And it's been good since then. So we'll all get
Yeah.
out of that rut.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just waiting it out, because I think
Mhm.
I've always felt this way, that I didn't know, I couldn't 100% define my edge in
Mhm.
every single setup, or just in general, just defining my edge. I just could not like write that out crystal clearly, and I knew that like since I begun trading, and like now I'm just starting to realize like that's what's holding me back, is just facing that and then trying to rewind everything and go back, yeah, like you said, go back to basics and learn and be very structured in a little bit more structured in the entries and the exits and the setups than what I've been like.
It's it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I definitely felt that way too, like last year, that I was just trading all kinds of stuff and I really didn't have like a definition of like what's an A plus setup for me personally and what do I really trade well. And Ross had me and a couple of the other like profitable mentor guys last year with Warrior put together our own courses, like 10 chapters long, main
Yeah.
three strategies, all of that stuff that goes into it. And it, I think, was actually really helpful for me personally to be able to put all of that into words and writing and into a strategy to like teach to somebody else. Um, so I definitely understand what you mean there.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah.
hearing this shit.
Which
It's
part?
like
The part
all of
that
it,
I
because
was struggling or that I turned a corner?
no, I
Colby's
like
like, ha, other people are struggling too. Finally.
Yeah.
no, I just love the whole like trying to actually like write out what the edge is, because like I remember along like it was had to been 10 podcasts ago, I was saying the Mike Bellafiore quote where he was like, if you are trading based on feeling, no, you're not. It's a strategy or something like that. And all of you guys were like, oh, that's I think it is a lot of intuition. And ever since you guys said that, I was thinking a lot about how different small caps are from futures, because I don't come across any futures trader that's not, you need to have your strategy defined, period. And there's not a single example of a futures trader that doesn't have a defined strategy that makes money. There's not a single one. But then small caps, it's
Mhm.
like 95% of traders are trading off of like intuition. And a lot of you guys are making money. And
We're
then
just degenerates.
it begs the question though, like, why are you making money? So I think there's probably like two reasons. The number one is the competition is smaller, so you can kind of have really, really good risk management, and that can be an edge in itself. Just being extremely well risk management, which Tom is the best risk manager I've ever seen. I mean, his red days are like $1 and his green days are like 100, and his
I
average
wish I
views
could
are,
do that.
it's crazy. I
Me
don't even know.
too.
So I think Tom, mostly your edge is straight up. You're just extremely good at controlling risk. But then also on top of that, small caps is mostly tape reading. And it's really hard to really write out a strategy within tape reading, because that is literally an intuition thing. Unless you're going to record every single second of the tape for every day, go over it and say, oh, I bought this breakout here because this seller was a hidden seller that was on the ask and he got chipped away. And it's like, how do you even define that? Whereas in futures, I'm like, I have three things. If they're bullish, I go long. If I go long, here's my entry criteria, here's my exit criteria. You know, it's way easier to like really define it out in futures, but it's really hard in small caps to do that.
Yeah, if you're
There
scalping
might be some
momentum, you don't even
truth.
have time to analyze in that depth. I think that's why it's more of a gut feeling. That's what I was gonna say. Sorry,
I
Danny.
was gonna say there might be some truth to that because Colby, like what you were just describing, in terms of reading the tape, reading hidden sellers or hidden buyers, and all of that action, and what you're seeing on the tape versus what is affecting on level two. That's exactly how I trade, and I've gotten to a point where I guess I've become like really pretty good at reading that, but it's really hard to teach that effectively to a more beginning trader because they don't have the experience to, number one, see that hidden seller or buyer and then and then also the pattern recognition of like what normally happens when you get a pop up to it or down to it, or what happens with the chart from there. How does that affect what that hidden buyer or hidden seller's position might do? Like on LIAN just a minute ago, it broke down 15 cents finally because a 50,000 share seller stepped in. And it's, as you get more advanced, you understand that it's not that seller just popped in all of a sudden. They've been there the whole time. And every time it pops, they're absorbing it and bringing it back down. And so it can be fairly unintuitive at first to understand those things, and then especially to execute trades on it, before you have like a level of confidence or conditioning on how to actually execute correctly on a stock that moves like that. Or when I started trading early 2020 into 2021, and we all probably learned the typical bull flag, like 3 1-minute candlestick type play. I hardly remember seeing hidden sellers and hidden buyers at that point. The market has developed so much and so differently, and it's a lot more complicated than just surface level at this point, like it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I think you could honestly probably write a legit like 300-page book on just level 2, and someone could read that 100 times and they will suck maybe worse than had they not even read it, just because
and it would
it's
be out
such
of date in like a year or two.
It's pointless. It's like, how are you supposed to do that?
But a lot of the reason the small caps, trading small caps needs to be on intuition is because to back test a strategy, it's like the small cap, like the strategy, like the setup obviously doesn't work 100% every time. It doesn't even work sometimes 50% of the time. And by the time you're tracking a setup that is working within the past week, after that 1 week of data where you could say, okay, the red to green, it's working like 75% of the time, it's breaking through the highs, holding and running more. By the time you realize that strategy is working, the next day, you may get one more day of that, and then it completely changes. The shorts now know exactly where that's going to break out, and they all jump on at once for the breakout, and then it completely flips, and then that's where the short entry is, and then it's fading for the rest of the day on that red to green, and then you have to completely change that strategy. So that's why it has to be more off of intuition rather than structured in a sense, is because those setups, the pattern changes so quickly because everyone is already adapting like to the new hot setup of the week or of the month.
Definitely true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's so much variation in small caps. It's just, I mean, everything we're saying is basically more reasons as to why it's extremely hard to make like a legit playbook strategy thing. Like Tom, what you were saying earlier is you want to do that, I'm sure there has to be some way to do it. There's people that are doing it. They're probably just using data though, instead of, like, for me, I can easily write out 4 things that have to happen for futures because I'm trading the same ticker every day, the same volatility as the same. It's exactly the same every day. Whereas with that, you kind of have to get like an aggregate of everything and be like, oh, for the last month, we only had, let's say you only have 30 small caps that went above 40% intraday. And out of those 40, it'd be like something like the short bear or one of those guys who are like data collectors where they say, oh, last month was slow, not because I just thought it was slow, but because I have all this data that I collected that says the D2 gappers failed at an average of 75%. They went through below the previous day's low. And it's like, how are you supposed to know that unless you're going to do all that data shit, which that's a whole edge in itself that we don't even fuck with at all. But I don't know.
But for large caps, that could work for a couple of months. For small caps, that's going to work for a week, and then everyone uses that entry as now an exit because they want to get out before everyone else.
I was even watching Relentless Trader. He posted like a short or something, and he was just like marketing in and out like real quick like you do. And I was just watching it, and I was like, it almost looks like you guys have to beat each other because you're the only
Mhm.
ones like trading it. Like you have to literally be like, okay, Tom, when you enter, you know Relentless is literally going to enter at that same moment, and you have to get out like before he gets out, or he might make the
Yeah.
stock go down enough where it's going to stop you out, you know?
I think that that's happening a lot in this current market where we aren't seeing a whole lot of really good moves, and we aren't especially seeing a whole lot of continuation. So a lot of the small caps traders are kind of like stumbling over each other to beat each other into profit. That's just this current market cycle, though. I think that eventually we we probably will come back into a period where things are working well, setups are working, continuation is working, and it'll be more like working together at that point and having those nicer, cleaner, extended moves
Yeah.
with nice, clean pullbacks. So I think you're totally right. I think it's just this phase of the market though, and you can totally tell it's lower volume on everything all around, and everything is kind of choppy, and it's because traders are stumbling over each other and taking like 5-cent scalps instead of trusting that a move is actually
Yeah.
going to work and not selling
Yeah.
their shares in 5 cents.
Yeah, there's no trust in the markets right now.
Yeah, which is fine. It's just
Yeah.
a phase.
Have you guys seen the whole Madaz stuff on Twitter?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm following that.
Isn't that
What
awesome?
about it?
So you guys know Madaz Money, beast of a trader, made 12 million in the first 3 months of. So this is the whole story of Madaz. I don't know how much he made lifetime, but he traded for like 10 years before 2020, and let's just say it was like 5 to 7 million he made before 2020. In 2020 itself, the first 3 months he made 12 million, but ever since those first 3 months, he's down, I think 7 or 8 million out of that 12 since 2020. In the last 2 years, he's lost like 2 million, I think. But it's so interesting to see the evolution of a trader because so Lance Brightstein, obviously, we all know he loves daily report cards, really in-depth reviews. Why did you fuck this up? Give me like 3 really good, clean solutions as to how you're going to fix this problem. You know, figure out every single reason why something did happen or didn't happen. And Madaz is such a trader where he's like, oh, the manipulation, the level 2 just gets fucking skipped up and the halt bands just fucked me. And, you know, his like explanation of why he loses is just because like life, and that's a shitty fucking
Because
excuse.
the stock moved, so he
Yeah, it's like manipulation, you know, it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
fuck
of
you.
course
Like,
it is.
yeah, no shit. Like everything's manipulated. How are you gonna make money? That's the question. And it's
Right.
kind of crazy to see him going through this like evolution of absolute #1 trader to just like now he can't even do like what a first year student could do. And he's like, he bought some shit the other day and posted on Twitter, and it was literally like a 1 minute engulfing candle at the high of day with the most volume of the day on a low float ticker. Like the #1 reason why any person with a brain that trades would say do not buy that pullback. And he bought that
Engulfing to the
pullback.
downside.
It was a 1 minute engulfing candle. The high of day breakout was like this big. The engulfing candle was like that red. Highest volume of the day. It's a low float. It's small cap. Small caps are not running. And he bought that and he got skipped down and lost like 15K. And he was like, oh, it's just, you know, some hidden seller. I don't know, some stupid excuse. And it's like, dude, you literally bought the worst candle of the day. And your excuse is that manipulation. I mean, any person that's been trading for a week would know that that's, well, not really, a couple months, would know that that's a bad place to go. Right. So it's
Maybe like a year,
trading for
year or
15,
two.
don't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I still follow him or not on Instagram or if he's just been super quiet, but I used to see so many stories from him about his like special edition Lamborghini and all the upgrades and balconies that he's putting on his house in LA and whatever. And I don't remember if I unfollowed him or if he just doesn't post anymore, but I have not seen any of that in the last couple of years from him. It's unfortunate. It's kind of sad to see somebody who just killed it on the memes and can't keep up in the current market.
Yeah, and he literally pushes size to a level that's just it's unfathomably dumb. I mean, he's using like 50K shares on a ticker that has like like 700K volume on the day, and it's like
there's no liquidity for that size in this market.
Yeah, it just makes no
Like
sense. And he can't
you would be
make
able to do
$1,000 a
better
day.
trading half that size.
Way better. And he's always like, oh, I could easily make 1,000 to 4,000 a day. Then fucking do it. What are you
Well,
waiting
then
for? I
do
mean,
it.
to make
Yeah,
4,000 a day is $1 million
exactly.
a year. I mean, you're losing $1 million a year right now
Yeah,
because you're trying to make 50K in a market that's
yeah.
fucking terrible. It's just crazy. I don't know what the hell broke in his fucking brain that makes him think that any of that shit's a good idea. I don't know. It's scary.
Well, I think it's kind of like the hanging on to the strategy that paid him so well years ago, but unfortunately, he's given back so much of the gains that he's not really in a great position to trade the next hot market very well.
It's fucking Jesse Livermore make $1 billion in the Great Depression and then lose it all.
Is that what happened to
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, he made $1 billion in the Great Depression. Well, $1 billion in today's money.
Like today's
And then-
dollars?
Yeah, and then he died fully 100% broke.
He went like moon and back like at least a couple times, right?
I have no idea. I just know he lost it all before he died.
That's
He committed suicide from that, right? Is that what I heard?
Did he really? Jeez.
I think he committed suicide. Yeah,
Shit.
That's
but
sad.
yeah, he's definitely. I think it's in the book. I don't. You guys didn't read the book? Reminiscence of a
Which
Stock
one?
Operator.
No, I
I think
haven't read that.
that's why I feel like a lot of people stop trading after they make a few million because they're just like,
The
this is a
smart
bit of a
ones,
roller. This
yeah,
is a
it's
bit of a
like
roller coaster game. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
you can make a couple million in the market. I don't know, certain people can make a couple million in the market fairly quickly. And then if you're smart enough to hang on to most of it, thinking about 4 to 5% returns per year, if you have 2 million, 3 million, that's 100,000, 120,000 or so just in
Yeah.
residual passive cash with a
Yeah.
very conservative return rate.
Dude, the thing that scares me is the fact that there's things that we have to tackle in trading that don't exist until we break a certain experience level. Like
Yeah.
that exact thing. Like, let's say you make whatever, you have 3 years in a row where you make like 100K, 150, then 200. And then your fourth year, everything starts to kind of wither away a little bit. You lose like 50K. That's not a thing you're going to have to ever experience until you're at that level already, which is like, say 3 to 5 years into trading. And then you have to learn how to not give away all of the money you've made when your strategy doesn't work anymore. Like that's a whole skill that you have to that you learn that's totally unrelated to the whole first beginning stage of trading.
Yeah.
And if you
I
fuck
totally
up that
agree.
part, you can delete everything. All of it.
I totally
It's
agree. That was last
crazy.
year for me completely.
That's this year for me.
I nearly had a red year last year. But luckily I didn't, barely, and had to relearn and re-strategize and figure out like, yeah, I had like 3 years of profit in a row, but it wasn't that much, all things considered. How do we move forward from here?
Like Alex, you could probably talk about that.
I'll tell you what, man, like don't use your earnings, your big winnings, and invest it in a new strategy. You learn a new strategy from scratch with a small account, doing the same crap you did, before you had a lot of money. I mean, it's just like, I remember I just went with the options trade, and I just made like a quick, what was it, like
That was
10K?
crazy.
I just used massive size, and then I did the second trade, or like 3 more trades, and I basically lost the 10K again.
That's
Same thing
exactly my experience with options too.
Yeah, yeah, it was absurd. So it was like, why am I using such big size? Like, what if I did that when I made $1 million with day trading, and then all of a sudden, I do that with options? That would be absurd. I've done that before with business. I've had a really good business before, and then I steamrolled or bankrolled another business that was a failing business with the profits of the successful business. That was a really bad idea. So, don't do. I've definitely learned this lesson maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, and I'm getting very aware of when I start doing this mistake because it's such a natural thing to want to do. It's like, oh yeah, let me increase my revenue stream. So I have this money, let me put it over here. But it's not like that because these are high risk endeavors. It's not like I'm taking money and I'm putting into like a dividend stock or the SPY or some index fund or some annuity or something like that. You know, I'm putting basically hard-earned money into another high-risk asset, and that is something you don't want to do with your life. So if I think to avoid the problem of losing a bunch of money as a day trader, like if you do branch out to new strategies, like for me, I try to always practice my swing trading, and I've lost a lot of money swing trading. I'm actually pretty much net zero at this point with my swing trading, and I've made a lot and I lost a lot. But so I'm slowly learning it, but a lot of times I would make a lot of money with a small account swing trading, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let me put my, I have 80K in here. Let me start swing trading with it, and then boom, before you know it, I just gave back 20K, and I was like, oh, well, that was stupid. Um, so it's if you're going to start a new business or if you're going to start a new strategy, let that be bootstrapped or at or have some sort of funding or investment that's not related to you, I would say. Otherwise, that new business or that new strategy is going to be a major black hole, and that frustration is gonna go right into your current bread and butter, whatever's making you money, your golden goose. That's what happened to me again in Q1, Q2. I was so focused on different strategies that all of a sudden my golden goose, I was so frustrated I could barely trade front side. So I had to stop making a lot of stupid mistakes, throwing money away because it creates a lot of stress. So I think we talked about this in a former pod, but it's basically like if you make $1 million with day trading, I wouldn't take that money and then start trying to play options. I would take that money and put it into something very, very safe. So at least you don't have to worry about money anymore.
I think that's really smart. And like with businesses, just like trading, eventually you start to realize like where does it make sense to put your money? Like which trades are the good trades that keep paying you? What's the opportunity cost? Where does it make sense to use that money? And some of the bigger, best traders who I know, who I'm friends with through Warrior, one of the smartest things that I see them do all the time is either when they've made a good bit or when they have been finding choppiness in the market or choppiness in their recent P&L, they'll take like 80% out of their account so they can't lose it. They're not trading with it anymore. And then they'll grow that account back up. And just recently, a couple weeks ago, was the first time I had ever done that. My goal, or not really goal, but my thought this year was just to let the account grow and grow and grow. And at the end of the year, see where I'm at. But I had been going through a drawdown for long enough that I was like, I'm going to take 80% out of my account and kind of just start fresh. And it helps with mindset for sure, but also just protecting your capital.
Totally agree. That's one problem I have because I'm primarily trading my Roth IRA. So like taking funds out of that account isn't as much of an option. Although I like to think about
put it into other positions.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, and that's what I do often with my swing trades. that's where I'm bankrolling my swing trades for my day trading profit, and it gets me in a lot of holes. It's But I need to put it in very safe things. And you could buy safe things through your IRA. It's not like you could just only buy, stocks or something like that. So I need to be a little bit more open-minded with that. But I do like growing my IRA because if I grow it I basically put in $0 at this point. I took out all my principal, and I'm pretty confident that I can grow to $1 million. And that means I just grew $0 to $1 million tax-free ultimately. And that's pretty amazing. And if I want to take out 100K, I would still pay taxes on that 100K, like it's income tax, and then I would pay the 10% penalty fee. But I'll pay the $10,000 on a 100K penalty fee because I just saved, paying $400,000 in taxes. So it's still worth the penalty fee growing in your IRA.
Yeah, that's true. Just hearing that thought process and talking about trading an IRA and all of this and tax-free benefits, even if you have a hard time finding a lot of long-term consistency or like, even if it takes the next 15 or 20 years to grow that to $1 million, you're still so well positioned financially with financial literacy and literal finances that it's just a cool journey, trading in general.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Totally
Just to
agree.
kind of bounce off of that is, sorry, just to kind of bounce off of that, I was just gonna say, yeah, we already, like, as traders, we already have access to take pretty much an infinite amount of risk, more risk than we'd ever want to. So why would you want to layer that with another level of risk that you're not even proven to be profitable, or even, you know, if you're already profitable as a trader, you can just scale. If you want to take more risk, just scale it up, take more size. You don't need to jump into something else that's may not even be as proven to be as profitable. And even, you know, even if it was, is it to the level of trading something that you've already been doing for a long time? You can kind of, you know, kind of trust your statistics more. Yeah, why would you want to kind of spoil those gains into something that's not as proven?
Totally agree, and that's really well said.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. It's like, I think that that's a really good way to go sideways for a long time. Make some gains on one strategy, try a different strategy for some reason, give them back, go back to your first strategy, make it back.
Yeah, that's my 2023.
Yeah.
So I think I had to get slapped in the face by that at least once really hard.
I think trying that like once, maybe twice, and then moving on makes sense. It's like, oh, that didn't work the first time. Maybe I can make some adjustments, see if it'll work a second time. But, you know, past that, it's like, why do you keep trying the same thing that isn't working and expect it to be different this time?
Well, totally agree.
What were you saying, Colby, before I started speaking?
I was just gonna say it's crazy to think there, because Danny was saying how cool it is to be financially literate, and I was like, there's people out there that don't even know that Roth IRAs exist. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
When I learned about them, I was like, what?
I know, right? And then you learn you can trade in them, and you're like, what?
Yeah, that too.
Trade in my IRA.
And you tell other people about that, and they're like, no, that can't be.
You're like, look, this is Ross Cameron. He made $1 million in his IRA. Look. You're like, check it out.
I've been watching, or not necessarily watching, but I followed a guy on Instagram recently, Caleb Hammer. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or watched him at all. And what he does is he interviews people who are like in debt or making bad financial decisions, and he tries to turn them around. And oh my God, the decisions that people make. It's like, congrats, you got a Camaro on an 84-month loan at 20% interest. What a cool car. You're like in debt for life. It's insane. And then a lot of people just don't know any better. They want their monthly payment to be like 300, 400 or whatever, and they don't understand that the length of time and the interest rate for that $50,000 car, you're going to end up paying like $120,000 over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Good investment.
Lamborghini.
But the sad part is that's the most of the people. I mean, I take calls for people from various banks and credit unions, and I get to look at their account, and a lot of it is their mindset is, wait, I have $1,000. I mean, an overdraft. Yeah, you have $1,000 in overdraft, and you get $30 fees every time you use it. But like a lot of people are, you know, negative in their account. They have really bad, like, you know, they line of credits for 20% interest rate, personal loans, like very high rates. There have been just a lot of people. I'd say 90% of the callers, 9 out of 10 people, are in very, very, very bad financial situations. And I'm thinking, like, if I was in their situation, I would be crippled with anxiety of just trying to get to the next month.
If you had a clue,
it's really
you'd
bad.
file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, you'd file for bankruptcy,
and just try to
like
move
there's also a lot of old people that are just living off of Social Security for $1,500 a month, and they call me in. They're like, "It's my Social Security check hit," and I'm like, "No, it didn't hit yet." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to go another month with $12 in my account." It's just, I don't know how some of these people are surviving. It's really bad.
Wow, that is terrifying.
Yep.
Barely
That's
buy
my
a dozen
little
eggs.
rant on that. It's really
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. I
Wow.
I do feel very bad for some of these people in these situations when I do take them on the phone, and I try to give them advice, but it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how well that goes if they ever take it, but sometimes they're just in a position where it's so far deep in the red or deep in the hole that it's very hard to turn around.
Mhm.
Isn't it so wild to think that our economy is just built in a way to just make sure that continues to occur?
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird.
It makes me think about the education system at least a little bit, because financial literacy was no part of my education
Yeah.
through high school or anything. And growing up in the DC area, I was in one of the top school districts in the entire country, and we didn't learn about any of that.
Dude,
And
how easy would it be too? You could literally just go into a class. It's the whole class is called life. And the first thing you
yeah,
do is you say, what do you want your life to be? Do you want 2 kids? Do you want a house? Do you want a townhouse, a condo? You want to live near the ocean? You
yeah.
want to live,
All right, how do we get there?
you build your life out, and then you get a job, right? You get to pick your job. You get to pick what your salary would be. You get to look at your monthly expenses. Where are you going to put the money you save? What are you going to do? It'd be so easy and it'd be fun. Every
It'd be
kid can
super
look at
Yeah.
fun.
it'd be awesome.
Every kid would
it'd
have a blast. Yeah.
be so easy. Learn how to, the second you get your first paycheck, the teacher comes right by, swipes that shit out of your hand. Taxes, motherfucker. I'm the IRS.
Like
This is what that means. That's
you've
what that feels
saved
like.
some money, and you get to decide, like, do you keep saving that and reinvest half
Yep.
of it or whatever, or do you buy your Camaro or whatever it is that you want to have right now, and then you get graded on that decision and like your
Yep.
financial health at the end of the semester or whatever. There's
Every 3
so
months, there's
many
like a random
different,
expense you weren't expecting.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's so many different ways that you could be
That's a good
teaching
one.
the same concepts of like um interest and growth and inflation and all these important concepts, but actually just using real life examples.
And it
Can
would
the
be
school
very
district
easy.
come by and just like hire insiders, and we'll
Yeah.
go and talk to the schools.
Yeah, imagine.
Scare them straight.
Yeah, for
Coleman's
real.
taking everyone's freaking lunch money. He's like, taxes.
Like Ron Swanson just taking a bite out of all of the kids' sandwiches.
Yeah, for real.
Taxes.
37% is mine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like
And
the
this is
example
for
of the marshmallow experiment of kids sitting in a room, and some kids eat the marshmallow right away, while some kids wait an extra hour and sit in the chair and look at the marshmallow for an hour and they get another one. I think that most people would eat the marshmallow right away, and I think there's a high consistency of successful people who do wait the hour to get the marshmallow, or take the long road to guarantee success rather than taking the gains now, or trying to take the personal loan at a high interest rate now to try to pay off or whatever, do whatever with it. But then you're saddled up with that, paying that off for a long time, rather than taking it a bit more conservatively to kind of more so guarantee growth in the end.
I think humans are just inherently risk takers. We just like taking risks. We like thinking that there's the potential for outsized returns. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to learn some stuff about psychology, but then you get into like the third study of like gambling, and you're just like, whoa, what, huh? And it's just like so confusing. But yeah, like it's pretty obvious that the fact that casinos exist at all and slot machines are a thing, and literally every human being on the planet knows that you just don't win ever, and they do it every day, all the time, is just
That's horrible.
yeah. That says a lot about humanity, honestly.
Have you guys ever gambled in a casino before?
I
Only
haven't.
poker.
I
Yeah.
have, but yeah, nothing like serious. It was more like I had credits because I was staying at this casino place, and I was like 50 euros or something. It was with my brother, and we basically, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So then Heiko and I were, I don't know
Yeah.
what we did. We did a little of everything from slots to tables to we both lost the money. It was up and down and up and down. Eventually we lost it. But
Yeah.
that was my one gambling day. I mean, technically we're day traders, but I don't view dating.
Yeah.
I don't view trading as gambling.
No.
Shouldn't
Slots
be.
are the worst though. Slots are like
Slots are-
straight up like you know you're losing money because you can't beat the odds. Like you can't. There's no way for the odds to be in your favor. And blackjack, okay, maybe if you can count
Maybe.
cards. Poker, maybe if you know your hand and the statistics of each hand and the statistics
numbers
and the
game.
probability of somebody else
Yeah.
having a better hand than you.
Even the roulette
in
table's
those
against you.
situations, I get it. Yeah, the roulette table. Yeah,
If you know how
49%.
it's like you could bet on black or red. Well, there's still that one green zero, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
so
So
that makes it 49% or 48%, whatever
something
it
like
was.
that. Yeah.
So there's no
Yeah, me
way.
and
I was
me
just
and
gonna
my
say, there's
buddies
no
all
way.
went.
Why?
Sorry.
Who in the right mind would want to do that? Knowing that you're going to lose money, and then
That's why
add on
I
the
played the
fact.
slots once just because I wanted to see what rush it was. I mean, there was a lot of flashing lights, but
Yeah,
I'm already not one of those people that like that stuff. But I was like, I don't get this. Like I'm happy I tried it, but I don't. There's so many people around me that were like zombies, and I was like,
yeah,
dude, what? I don't get it. I don't get it.
yeah. Add on the flashy lights, and it traps pretty much most zombified people who just can't really make a decision and kind of just go by their emotions and
They need to play some
what
Age
feels
of
good.
Empires. Get a life.
You just go for what feels good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We are
What were
led
you
by
gonna say?
dopamine hits.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Colby,
Poker, though?
you had some.
I was just gonna say, me and my buddy went to the casino. We took I literally only took an amount of money that I was 100% losing for sure. So I went there and I just went to the.
Right.
I guess it's roulette. Yeah, I just went to roulette and I was like, I'm betting black 5 times and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And every dude around me is like 7, 12, like putting all this money on like 6 things, and I was just looking at them like, that's fucking stupid. And these guys are like just old men that are just
They put it in the
40-year-old
middle
dudes.
where it's like
Yeah, they're
four
like, oh, I'll
numbers.
fucking get half of streets, whatever the
It's
fuck
really
that means.
sad. Like
Yeah.
actual gambling obviously
And I was like,
makes
the
no
best
sense.
I know
Things like
it's so dumb.
poker, blackjack, there are ways to have skill at it, but just actual gambling
Yeah, it's
is
crazy.
literally a disease. It's like,
Yeah.
there is a
agree.
chance that I could hit the jackpot. And so it makes sense for me to lose all of my money first.
Crazy.
But there is a chance. There is a chance.
The
I
funny-
can get it.
So you're
Bro, the
telling
funny
me there's
thing
a
is-
chance?
There's
Yeah,
slot machine
it's not
players that
zero.
would fucking there's slot machine players that would watch this shit, or just gamblers, people like that, and they'll be like, yeah, trading is gambling too.
They're not watching
Yeah,
this
I-
anymore. They already clicked off this page.
Well,
If you're a slot machine player, please leave a comment below. I would just
Yeah.
love to hear your perspective.
with consistent success. Years.
Yeah.
I need to
Way
see
to erase all the
like
comments.
How
I
are
need
you
to see like
cheating?
3 years worth of making money consistently.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it
I have
doesn't
one-
count.
I have one grandma. She is diehard lottery player, and I always give her a hard time because she's still renting. She lives in the same house she lived in since I think it was the 60s. She's been in this place for so long, and she's been paying rent every month. And I'm like, Helga, if you if you just bought this house, there's your lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Like don't play lottery. Like it's your house, especially in the 60s, oh my God, she'd be sitting on
Yeah.
like easy at north.
There's
of a
probably like
billion at
6
this point.
raspberries for that house.
Yeah, yeah, 6 raspberries and
And
1
like a
strawberry
buckle.
max.
I'll give you my cow.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. But I don't know. Some people just don't fundamentally get it. And she, somehow she gets joy out of the lottery, and I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, she'll be like, yeah, this time I made $12, but I'm like, did the ticket cost you $20? Like,
Yeah.
but there's not even that like profit margin, revenue expense, like that whole, it's just
Yeah,
gone. They're
no.
just not business people, period. I don't know. They're
Right.
spirit, like the opposite. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's depressing.
Another issue that I find that's a lot of people fall into, including myself. I'm sure a lot of you guys fall into this too. Is you only want to read stuff or watch things that verify your already beliefs that you have, instead of
Confirmation
looking at
bias.
things that are falsifying, that could potentially falsify what you believe. And that is just to kind of save your ego. And that's also another issue with learning to trade or learning to get better, is because you're afraid to kind of look at the failures or the things that may not be working out, but you don't want to go through the effort to change them. Because it's easier just to kind of keep going, wait it out. Oh, it's going to change. Oh, the market's going to change, or the market is this, or the market is that.
Our ego and worldview are so precious and fragile and important until you go through shattering them enough times to realize they're not, and change something, and admit that you're wrong, admit defeat, whatever. I've been doing jujitsu for a couple months now, and I really like the coach. He, at the end of class, frequently talks about that kind of thing in terms of or like when we're sparring, rolling with each other, especially to anybody new, he's like, just tap if you're in a bad position or getting choked, or if you're uncomfortable, or if something hurts or whatever, just tap. It's not like you suck, you lose thing. It's just reset and start over and go from there. And trading especially is difficult like that, when you have to go through being wrong and failing so much in order to finally find some success or consistency, which most people just don't.
Yeah, I think it's kind of common that 99% of the time, whenever you see a human being that has like a problem, it's extremely obvious to every single person except that person. And it's just like that quote that's like, you believe every single thing, or how does it fucking go? I question everything.
You built it up. I want to hear
I know,
it now.
fuck, damn it. I question everything about I question everything except for the things that I actually believe. The things
Like
that
your
you
core
actually
beliefs.
believe.
Yeah,
You never question those. Yeah.
Like
Whatever,
the things you believe unconditionally are true. Yeah,
and you never question them.
sometimes, dude, I just had one of those revelations when that video I came out with oxalates and like certain vegetables. My whole life, I've been told spinach is healthy. I didn't even think twice about it. That was such a belief that I held. And then I was like, wait a second, like like kids back in the day, everyone knew don't feed your kids spinach because you can kill your kid. Like that was common knowledge, like literally like 50 years ago. And we have just totally forgot things like that, because a lot of these vegetables, you have to cook it and prepare it in certain ways, or you have to eat it very minimally because they're just so toxic as well, which makes sense. You don't just go to any tree and just start biting into it. There's only a certain amount of vegetables you can eat, and even those are still quite toxic. So like that was one of those like moments where I was like, slap me and call me like, and I was just like, I still have a hard time accepting it, because it's just like, again, you go your whole life believing one thing. And I don't know, after you have enough of those moments, you're just like, what else is like a giant lie? And
dude, I got a
most
good
things.
I got a really good one. Dude, this shit has been hitting me like crazy for the past 2 weeks, because something really weird has happened with me with trading. It's trading related. All right, fuck. I don't have like a purple butthole. All right, like. So
I don't know if anyone was thinking that.
I was like, what's the craziest shit I could say right now? That's what popped into my head. So a little insight into the Colby mind.
Colby must have some serious hemorrhoids.
I think that's maybe a personal problem. I don't think anyone was thinking that.
No, yeah.
All right, calm down. All right. Give me my stage, all right? Fuck, relax. So every trader, when you start trading, everyone is always like, oh, trading is all psychology. Psychology is super important. As we all know, like, of course, it's important. But something I've realized that is super surprising to me is that so you guys know I've been trying to make a system, right? I want to be a system trader. I want to only trade whenever my system tells me to trade. I don't want to ever make a personal decision based on my own feelings or my intuition, anything like that. I only want to trade the system. And ever since I've been doing that for like a full month, I've realized that like 95% of all the psychological problems that I've had with trading are completely gone now. And it's super fucking weird because the only reason that happens is because now when I take a trade, it is completely unrelated to me. So if I win or lose, it is completely does not matter about if me making the decision, because I didn't make a decision. I only read my system objectively, and the data says, yeah, go or don't go. And if I go and I win, that's great. I traded the system. If I go and I lose, that's great. I still traded the system. So I've been having all these weird moments where like I'll get into a trade and I'll be like, wow, I would have never bought that trade before because this feels like it's extended, but I'll buy it now because my system told me to, and I'll win on it. And I'll be like, well, what changed? It wasn't because my psychology was wrong before and I was just scared. Now I have a system that tells me you buy when this happens. And when that happens, I buy. I don't sit around and think about, you know, this. It's just telling me go, I take it. So it's really cool because, and this is something these guys that I've been trading with from the Lance Brightstein like Discord thing, they've taught me this, and they were saying how like all of them are like super systematic people, and some of them have made millions of dollars trading already. And all of their advice is always like, you should never make a decision ever based on your personal feelings. Everything should be systematized. Every entry should be systematized. Every exit should be systematized. So like something that whenever we first started the pod, you guys were talking about how small caps are very inconsistent. You know, one day it's an awesome breakout, goes 400%. Next day the breakout flushes, it loses 50% of its gains, whatever. And I was thinking about how cool it is that my system now kind of in my system, there's a way to know if the market's going to be choppy or not. And like Tom came into my Discord today and he was like, should we buy this breakout on the SPY? And I was looking at my system and I was like, well, according to what I have here, it's if 3 out of 3 internals are trending together, then it's good. If they're not, it's usually going to be choppy. And there's different ways of analyzing that. And I told Tom, I was like, according to what I have in front of me, the market may break out, but it's probably going to be choppy and not be very good either way. So there's no point in even trying to trade, because if you're not going to trade a scenario where you are absolutely sure that at least something good can happen, why would you even trade it? If I'm pretty sure that it's going to be choppy and nothing's going to be good, well, my entry could be perfect and my idea could be perfect, but I could still lose just because the market doesn't have enough volume behind it to go to where I want it to go. So it's like, it's really cool because I'm not making decisions anymore based off of anything other than things that I've studied to be true or not true. And whenever I make a mistake, it doesn't feel like I'm personally making a mistake. It feels like my system is flawed slightly. And like, there's that one quote by like, what's his name? The dude who wrote Market Wizards, Marty Schwartz or whatever his name is. It was something like, you fall to the limits of your system, not to the limits of your ability to perform. So the amount of money you make is related to how good your strategy is. It's not related to how good you are as a human. Like if you don't have a strategy that's good enough to make $1 million, you're not going to make $1 million. Your strategy might just be subpar, you know? And that's something that I think that most younger traders don't ever think of shit like that because it's so hard to start. But these guys that I've been talking to, they were describing how they started, and it was really cool because it's literally the exact same way I started. You start with a sentence that's a very broad rule. Never go long below VWAP, never go short above VWAP. Very simple rule. Do that for a month, whatever, and then start adding and subtracting things to that sentence. Never go long below VWAP and short whenever the 90 MA gets touched. Short whenever there's a new 5-minute high in a downtrend, whatever. And you just keep adding to that sentence until eventually you can basically delete like 90% of any intraday price action. Because as we know as traders, the whole thing of trading is we're literally making a 50-50 guess at any moment. We going up or down, period. And the hardest part of trading is there's so many chances for you to make that guess. But if you can delete like 90% of the price action by creating a system that tells you trade whenever these 5 things happen, that immediately is already going to give you a more edge than the average human being, because the average human being is just like, oh, we're up on the day. We're up 1%. I'm going long at the open. My stop is at low of day and I hope we go. That's their whole strategy. That's not going to work because that's way too broad. You need to have like multiple factors leading into that. So if you're a beginner and you're listening to this, please start that as soon as you can, especially if you're trading large caps or futures, because that's absolutely required. I don't know about small caps, but
I think it's required to a
about.
point with small caps. I think that it's more crucial with large caps because there's not, I mean, there's some level of intuition and feeling with all trading, but especially with large caps, they respect levels and trends so much stronger than small caps, which are highly manipulated. And anybody that sends a 50 or 100,000 share order, that's going to have a huge effect on the price. And some big trader can just do that when they feel like it. But your quote reminded me, and it made me look up from James Clear, Lance Brightstein's favorite book, Atomic Habits. The quote is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Same thing that you said, basically, just different author of the same idea. But I mean, it's totally true. And it goes back even to what I was saying towards the beginning about writing out my system and my strategy and everything about how I trade last year. And I don't know if it's directly related to me having a really, really good year this year, but has the right idea at least.
I like that, Colby. I think it applies to many things in life. Have a system, have a routine, have a have a strategy. A bad strategy is better than no strategy because at least you know what to fix. I like that part also, that it keeps you away from being emotional towards yourself. You're like, oh, you're not beating yourself up because you did some impulsive decision. You're able to see it from a kind of a bird's eye view, like kind of detach yourself from yourself. And I think that's so important with trading because once you get on tilt, man, it's over. And I've definitely, this crappy market that we're in right now, it's you do a few big trades in a row and you're red and you see red. And for me, I've been kind of applying that by limiting my exposure to the market, just trying to close TOS when I think I'm done. And then I'll come back if people are saying something's hot, and then try to, jump on it quick. But yeah, exposure is for me, it's really bad. But yeah, I have my system in place. I always outline all my things. And I think that's really important. I try to have a system with everything I do. I think that's fundamental. Yeah.
Colby, have you noticed different results since a couple weeks ago or since you started implementing that?
Yeah. I don't really like even thinking about saying anything about my results until it's like 3 months have passed, just because every single time I say anything good about anything I'm doing trading, I completely fuck it up the very next second. So I don't even, I've been trading well for a month. Like, my stats are good. They're within my expectations, all this stuff, I'm definitely happy with where I'm at. But the thing that is extremely interesting to me is the fact that I feel so much less like it's my fault, which is just so cool. Because it's like, oh man, like, how fucking mad can you possibly, like, I've never been more angry at anything in the whole fucking world in my entire life until I go long and I get stopped out at the bottom and it goes up 100 points. Like, that is the number one. That is, like, if there's just one thing that can absolutely just send me into a fucking just, I'm going to kill everything, it's that.
Amen.
But now,
bottom ticking.
Exactly. But now with the system, like, I don't do that shit, first of all. But if I did do something like that and it was within my system, it's not my fault, because the system literally said, this is a potential area where we may do something like that and whatever. And I mean, of course, I can still get stopped out at the highs and do all those kinds of things. But on a general trade to trade basis, the amount of course, it's like just lowering the occurrence of tilt and the occurrence of me seeing the problem as me rather than the system. And it's cool too, because then when the day's over, if you lose and you're like, well, it wasn't me, it was the system, you want to work on the system. So I go into my system and I'm like, here's a solution I can implement tomorrow that might make this system 1% better. And you just keep doing that every single day. And then eventually you have this extremely robust system that you've built over years of trading. and and it works just way better, and it fixes every psychological issue. You cannot, I don't give a fuck if you are Buddha reincarnated. If you don't have edge or a strategy, you are not making $1 in the stock market ever. I don't give a shit. Okay, that's just a fact of nature. And for people to say that right when you start trading, oh, you need to like start working on your psychology, no, the fuck you don't. You're gonna be tilted year 5, you're going to be tilted year 10. It's not going to go away. You're still going to get bottom ticked and top ticked, and it's going to piss you off. But if you have a strategy, at least you have something to work on and something to blame rather than yourself, because you can't just sit and meditate all day and expect to get better at trading. That's just not going to work.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. And especially trading small caps with a loose system, sometimes it can be really easy to blame yourself for taking the wrong trade, or like Madaz example, buying the engulfing bearish candle and that kind of stuff. And like, I think that there is monetary value and gains and returns in just having that sense of calm behind you in your trading or when you're executing trades, versus just like an underlying feeling of stress and frustration, which is just not a good place to trade from. It's kind of funny, but probably true. Scared money don't make money.
Yeah, it's definitely true. That's so true that like, because the perfect move happens, you're too scared to trade it, then it happens and you FOMO, and then you extra lose money. Yeah.
I'm drawing a lot of parallels right now from what Kobe said, because like that's exactly my problem. Like I don't have a clear cut system, so every time I have a bad day, I blame it on myself, and then I just beat up my confidence, and then it prohibits me from taking any sides. And because I can't define a good setup, I can't define where the proper entry is, the proper exit, other than hindsight. So just having that system, I think, is going to help me move forward. So thank you, Colby, for saying that, because that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, of course.
One thing that was really helpful for me earlier this year that I think I've been doing well this year is trading the actual chart and the chart pattern and what I think can play out. And, I have an idea in my head or a vision in my head of what I think can play out, but I'm always trading what is actually happening. But taking my entries based on, if it dips here, does the chart still look good, especially if it reclaims or bounces from that dip, or would I be buying an area that looks like maybe a bad place to buy at that point? And taking my trades based on that kind of idea and actually trading the chart pattern rather than arbitrary 5-10 cents here or there, I think has been a really helpful point for me.
That's a bit how I trade too. I feel like when I trade, I trade like what people talk about with chess, where you try to think like a couple moves ahead. And ultimately, I'm visualizing what I would like to see in the chart happen. If it doesn't happen, then I'm like, I'm not aligning with this ticker. I'm going to ease off. And when it does happen, I'm like, I'm in the flow with this ticker. Like I start sizing. I still might do poor execution, but that's typically how I go about thinking about a ticker at any given time. So I'm always even like a pullback. I'll be like, okay, last couple pullbacks were all like 15%. So, and then I'll draw out lines, or I'll have a game plan. And then I'm like, exactly like Danny said, does this actually, now that the pullback happened, are the different time frames aligning still, or is it now not in play anymore? And then just kind of seeing if I'm correct in terms of how I'm thinking about this ticker. And if I'm totally out of a flow on a ticker and I keep getting my visualization wrong, I typically don't trade those tickers. And that's where I can make mistakes if I start, trading emotionally or getting on tilt, because I'll stop doing that. I'll sometimes do an insanely good visualization and I'll be up like $1,000, and then I'll get bored or emotional or distracted and I do random trading, and that's often where I get back most of my profit.
Yeah. That's the worst.
So market exposure again for me.
Trading. Yeah,
mindlessly trading.
And that's the problem with beginners, is like, again, if anyone's beginner watching us, the worst thing you could do the worst thing you could do is just kind of just show up every day, mindlessly trade, and then just shut down your computer and be done for the day,
Yeah.
and you come back tomorrow. That's the worst thing you can do in the beginning.
Without
Holy
learning
crap. You
anything.
literally,
Yeah.
you have to be so intentional
Mhm.
when you first start. And that's something I wish I did when I first started, was being more intentional with my strategy, like more intentional with just learning after hours or pre-market, like studying my trades, being more intentional on where exactly should the entry be, the exit be, the level two, the news catalyst, like logging all that data. And that's something I wish I would have done like when I first began, because when I first began, I kind of just showed up every day, kind of just mindlessly traded, and hopefully I was green and not blow up. And then it took me a while to really start to put in some intention in my studies.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys, I
That's
think
just so dangerous, man. To just
yeah.
trade and just think that reps is going to make you better. It's
Yeah.
just so not true.
I was thinking that too,
Intentional
because
reps.
yeah, and the intent, yeah, because Ross,
Reps.
in the beginning said like it's better if you just show like do one trade a day when you're new and
Yeah.
understand what you're trading. And at first I was like, but you got to get your reps in. But
Yeah.
ultimately, what he's telling you to do is have a game plan and you wait for that setup. And
Mhm.
that's really where the value is, because you're not just okay, I'm going to do one random trade a day. It's more like, okay, I have a system. You got to first make that
Yeah.
system, and then you got to wait till that thing happens, and then you get in, you get out before you get emotional and start doing stupid stuff for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then you can actually
Yeah.
learn from it. When you're only
Yeah.
taking like 1 to 5 trades, you really get to study each of them. And you can even have full-on recordings of each of them. And it's only 5 trades to watch through again, like maybe 25 minutes worth of content. It
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier to like I would think exponentially speed up your learning process and growth process. And it's not at all what I did at the beginning, which
Me
is
neither.
why it probably took a long time to figure it out. But
Yeah, no one's gonna watch 2 hours of screen recording, but yeah, if it's like it's 15 minutes and you could even maybe cut it down more than that, and then you just kind of reanalyze it, and then you maybe analyze the whole chart, the daily, and the news, and you think the float. Yeah, that's the way to go for sure. Less is
Even
more.
just like collecting objective data, like that shit is extremely important. Like obviously whenever we're trading, we kind of intuitively know like, okay, well, we're above yesterday's high, we're breaking out in the pre-market, we have new highs of day coming in every 5 minutes, XYZ, these things. But you should, whenever you're starting out, you really should be listing every single one of those things, so you're just noticing that every time. Like the SPY, if you trade SPY at all, it's never going to have a good green day if we're stuck in the previous day's range. If we're stuck between yesterday's daily candle, it's not going to go anywhere. We have to break out of something before we can get any room to go anywhere. And there's just like,
Yeah.
when you're trading, you kind of have to separate the two versions of yourself. One person wants to make money, which is the gambler, and one person wants to be a systematic trader. And if you can either be a gambler or you can be like a data analyst. And the data analyst is going to be making money because the system gives them objective information. And the gambler will just be like, breakout, go, and they just want to get long because we're breaking out a high day, so.
Steven Dux is probably one of the best traders when it comes to analyzing, at least one of the more popular ones that we know, public traders. But yeah, he's really good at kind of analyzing the stocks, thinking about how much each one pulls back, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're going over a little bit here on time, I think we could probably leave the game plans, because I think we kind of already know what the game plans are. We've kind of discussed it here, and
Yeah.
we'll focus on game plans next week. Nothing really has changed that much anyway. So any final thoughts anyone wants to leave the pod with?
Build
Yeah,
a
I think we
system.
Yeah,
build a system.
if you want to follow my daily report cards, I'm going to be posting them in TradeJournal under my Triad Trading portfolio. So you guys can watch that. It's actually be public for everyone. Whoever's watching, just got to sign up, and you can keep track of my daily report cards every day if you wanted to take a look at what I was doing.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I think your profile is posted below this video, but I'll double check, make sure everyone's profiles posted below the video, so you guys can
I'll
easily
also
find
post mine. I'll look at yours too, Tom.
Sweet.
I still make them every day. I just don't really post them, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Great pod. Covered some
All right.
deep topics
Yeah.
this time.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right.
Good stuff,
Catch you guys later.
Sweet.
Take care,
Later, boys.
everyone.
Take it easy.
Ciao, ciao.